Y'all, somebody asked for an updated damage report yesterday, which I think is kind of a good idea because sometimes I forget to tell you stuff I break. The Ace is back together from last weekend where he broke a knuckle. You can see we got a nice new shiny knuckle on there. Look how that looks compared to the one that's on here. Yeah, this thing has a lot of oxidation on that aluminum. But yeah, I got a new one on there. Just the bottom piece where you used the top shock and strut. That was all nice and straight. Put it all on there. I got to align it. That hit whacked the alignment out a little bit. No big deal. I'm going to take off the wheel spacers to hopefully prevent that from happening again. But definitely not happy with how that failed. Yes, we were doing something it was not designed for, crashing it into a really hard clay riverbank. But the same thing would not have happened with all steel suspension components. Also, I left the key on this thing and the battery died, and when I went to charge it up, it wasn't taking a charge. Two of the cells were pretty low on electrolyte, so you got some water, and now it's charged up to 14.4 volts, so it's actually taking a charge. And that's an RC car battery charger. It works great for these little batteries. Gives you all the specs. You can't see it, but it's telling me the charge rate, how many milliamps, yada yada yada, the time. And they're great because if that battery's stone dead, a regular car charger a lot of times won't charge it. It doesn't see any voltage, but you can put this on the NIM setting, and on the NIM setting, it lets you charge. Lets you charge from 0 volts pretty much, so you can get a good amount of voltage in there, and then switch to the lead acid setting. But yeah, it's doing pretty good. Here's the old one. You can see how it failed. Yeah, that's what cast aluminum does when you hit something. Pretty nice though, really easy to work on. Bearing carry and everything came with that one, so it's really sweet to change out. I changed it. I didn't want to drive it around, so I just push it off the trailer and change it in the backyard. It took like 10 minutes with an electric impact. Razor is doing real well. I just cleaned it for once. Don't clean it that well very often, but you definitely want to drop the skid plate on these things every once in a while and clean them, just for performance sake. This skid plate had like at least 100 pounds of mud on it, so yep, got it all cleaned up. I'm still, Super ATV sent me the caliper bracket. I emailed them. They never even responded. The next day, the parts were at my house. That's how good Super ATV is about warranting stuff. They didn't even bother me. They just said, okay, we got your email, saw the picture, sent me a new caliper bracket. Only reason it's not on yet is because I'm putting a new brake caliper and that caliper bracket. I guess that's the caliper adapter. But anyway, so yep, that's just waiting on that. But the Razor's doing real well. Going to be at, what's it called? Bogs and Boulders this weekend in Alabama. So bringing the Razor for sure. The Lexus is still in the recovery process from being sunk at the bottom of a lake. Still pretty wet in here. I've had it open all day, airing out, and then I'm going to vacuum it. Yeah, it looks like it's holding a little bit of water. Water was up to here, so all the seats are still dripping out and stuff, but I'm just going to let it air dry from them and try to vacuum out a lot of the crud. Oh, this door also doesn't open. A log got jammed up in here, peeled up the inner fender liner, and actually shifted this, pushed the fender in a little bit. It's had happened before. It's not a big deal. You just got to pull this fender flare off. There's 2 bolts down there. It's kind of an adjustment, and keep this from hitting that. But yeah, that's something else I got to do. This isn't the priority though, because this isn't coming this weekend. But yeah, it did well. Water never got up to the computer. All my vent lines and stuff are ran up to this corner and that corner for the transmission, for the transfer case and the diffs. The transmission breather actually runs all the way up the inside of the snorkel. Because if you get water in an automatic transmission, it's done. If you get water in a transfer case or the diffs, you've got to change it a few times. So, but I've checked everything, engine oil, everything. It's all nice and clean. It's just a little nasty in here, so I'm going to pull up these moldings so it can dry out faster because it's still real wet. Ugh, poor truck. My stereo went under the water. My amp and everything is 100% fried because the amp is mounted right there. But it happens. Yep, all that's drying. And what else? The 300 has no issues to report as usual because it's a Honda 300 and they're just invincible. The new top end is running great. I had a few questions about the 317. Definitely a worthwhile mod. There's a 380 out now. I haven't tested it myself. I did test the 355 a while ago, and my experience with that, the High Lifter Big Bore, was that it ate through rings way too fast, and it was not worth it because I was changing rings so fast. I think it was a cooling issue. People say, add an oil cooler to help with that. The oil coolers help maintain the viscosity of the oil a lot, but as far as like keeping the engine temperature down enough to save the rings, I don't think an oil cooler is going to do it personally. Specific heat of oil, it's not great. It's not as good as water, which is a coolant, So yeah, I don't know. I don't really believe in those, and plus I don't want to waste rack space. And on my bike, it would just get covered in mud anyways. I wouldn't do a whole lot. But the 317 is nice because it uses all Honda parts. So I've got a Honda Rancher piston and cylinder, and it runs awesome. And the way that the kit comes, they give you a slightly thicker base gasket, almost like a shim. But this thing is doing absolutely awesome. I'd say it's got at least 30% more power from the old dead 20-year-old top end to the 317 big bore kit. I took the spool out of the front, added the 2x4 like in that other video, so it's a lot more fun to drive now. You can whip donuts and stuff. And I am going to change up the swing arm setup. I'm going to go to a 300EX rear shock. I think it was Jeremy Lee who told me on Facebook, like, hey, that's the shock. I ordered it, 25 bucks on eBay, came in, perfect shock. Real beefy coils, real good dampening. It's going to ride better. It rides okay, it rides fine right now, but with a passenger, it's a little too springy, and there's not quite enough rebound dampening. Big Red, nothing wrong with it. I just need to ride it. You may have seen at the end of that other video, we were driving down the road with no tire on the wheel. This tire just exploded for no reason. China bomb, you know, just tore. I mean, really shitty tire. That's what came on my trailer, and that's what the rim looked like by the time we got home. We didn't have a spare with us. It was at my house, and we had a bunch of people in the truck that I didn't want to slow down, so I just rolled on it. Went and grabbed another tire and wheel at Tractor Supply, and hopefully it's a little better tire. It still says made in China, but it looks a little beefier. So hopefully it'll last, and I'll bring a spare. Also, there's this random giant bunny that hangs out in my backyard. He's pretty cool. He's a little scared, but he's like the biggest bunny I've ever seen in the whole world. He's kind of like the Mud Puppy mascot. You think I'd have a puppy, but I actually have a giant bunny. What are you doing, dude? I'm gonna catch him for you guys.